Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now, I took a week off. Didn't do a review of Impact or AEW last week. I was having some issues with the phone that I used for this. Some technical issues a little bit. I just had to reset it and restart it all. And I just wasn't, I just had to take a week off. Get that all sorted. We're fine now. It's all good now. We should be back to the regularly scheduled 2 to 3, maybe even 4 videos a week. Last night was Full Gear, the All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view, and I'm going to be honest, I think it might have been the best show they've ever ran, as a whole top to bottom card. Maybe with the best match in the history of AEW? Possibly. But we'll just crack into it. And up first on the buy-in was Serena Deeb wrestling Allison for the NWA Women's Championship. And there's not a lot to report in this match. It was very good. I thought it was very, very good. That's how you use pre-shows. Pre-show matches should be good and not like 3-minute nothing matches, because they should make people want to buy the pay-per-view. But Serena Deeb was giving up a lot of size to Allison Kay. If you know the two wrestlers, you know that Serena Deeb's quite smaller and Allison Kay's a bigger wrestler. Not bigger, but like a taller wrestler. So it was a very good story of like a much smaller technician, outwitting and outsmarting a much bigger brawler. And Allison Kay really impressed me. I mean, I've known how good she is for years, but she just like reminded me just how good she was. In the same way that like when Serena Deeb had that match with Thunder Rosa, I was saying, "Oh, Serena Deeb really impressed me," even though I knew how good she was. I hadn't seen it for a while. In the end, Serena Deeb did win with her like half crab with the arm lock as well, and a very, very good match and a great way to kick off the show. Like I said, that's how you should use the buy-in from now on. I like the integration of the NWA with AEW, especially now with Serena Deeb under contract, bringing in people like Layla Hirsch and Allison Kay. And yeah, I just really think this is it's a good direction going forward, having her there and having the NWA title there. Hopefully it maybe leads to some stuff with other people from the NWA. Hopefully Nick Aldis can come in when fans are like back, so he can realise that he's not the wrestler he thinks he is. I have no problem with Nick Aldis. I think he's great, but he's got this thing. He's like, oh, people think, this would be better in Japan. No, the other reason people like myself like Japanese wrestling is because it's good. It's nothing about it being in Japan. It's just that it happens to be very good. And I feel like he probably thinks he was the main event player in the British Invasion and not Doug Williams. And I would just like to see him, how he would react to, being on a card where he is like the 7th or 8th biggest draw when he clearly thinks he's one of the best professional wrestlers in the world. I don't know. That's not like I don't like him. I do like him. I just think he needs to fucking job sometimes. But anyway, very good match to open the show, and let's just crack on with the main card now. The main card opened with the finals of the World Championship Eliminator Tournament, seeing Hangman Page take on his former tag team partner, Kenny Omega. And something really interesting that I found, Don Callis was on commentary for this. And on his little lower third graphic, it had a little thing about him, and it said Impact Wrestling, VP or whatever his position in the company is. Don Callis' lower third graphic talking about his status in Impact Wrestling seems to indicate that maybe AEW be open to working with them or collaborating with them, or maybe even like a talent sharing sort of thing. I don't think the Bucks will go back, but maybe if they send out I don't even know, but I think maybe this could end up with some collaboration, which I would enjoy, especially if we could put the North wrestling FTR on my television screens, and the Motorcycle Machine Guns wrestling FTR, and the Motorcycle Machine Guns wrestling the Young Bucks. Just give me all of it. Hangman's little descriptor on his lower third said a focused yeehaw man, and he was a focused yeehaw man. There was a nice chop sequence early on where he just hit Kenny with an absolute stinger, who then spun around and then got one just right in between the shoulder blades, and it looked awful. The pair of them just had a fantastic match, just like you would expect. At one point, Hangman was outside the ring, and he whipped Kenny into the guardrail. Kenny just jumped up and moonsaulted off the guardrail like it was nothing. This match was just everything you expected it to be. And in the end, after a hard fought battle, Kenny picked up the win with a one-winged angel after around 17 minutes. And it felt like every second as long as it was, but it also felt like it wasn't, if that makes sense. It was a fantastic match, and now Kenny is the number one contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, and will be cashing in. I don't know how it works, but on either Jon Moxley or Eddie Kingston. The next match was the Orange Cassidy and John Silver match, which was originally on the buy-in but was bumped up when they got the NWA Women's World Title match. And this match was fun, as you can expect. The match started with a pose-off, obviously. John Silver being the meat man. Great. Then Orange does his, obviously, hands up into the pockets. And John Silver took offence to this, and he body slammed them with his hands still in his pockets, ripped them out, then literally tore the pockets out of his jeans and ate them, stuck them in his mouth, and ran around doing this because Johnny hungry. I love John Silver so much. Love him. But this match was fantastic. It really showed off just how good John Silver is. They did a lot of fun, silly character stuff, but also just a lot of really, really good wrestling. Towards the end, John Silver called out for the discus lariat, big Mr. Brody Lee's finisher, but he was hit with an orange punch as he spun around, picked up for a beach break, and Orange Cassidy was able to pick up the win over John Silver in just some fun wrestling. Nothing better than some fun wrestling. Up next then, Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes will be wrestling for the TNT Championship. Darby came in on his car in a little driveway bit, outside the Daly's place where all the cars come in. And he sat on top of this car that he's spray painted, it says the face of TNT. And then he just smashed the windscreen with a skateboard which had the face of TNT written on it, and made his way to the ring. And Cody came out with all the Nightmare family, Lee Johnson, the Guns, his wife, just everyone. And they just went on and had an absolutely spectacular match. The big story of this match was they've wrestled 3 times, and Darby was unable to beat Cody twice. The 2 times Cody beat him, they beat him quite convincingly, and then the first time was obviously the time limit draw. And Darby seemed like more of an underdog than he usually does. His exact same moves had more of a, I don't know, maybe something about the fact that Cody's back, or Cody's looking that little bit bigger, or just all of his moves that he already always does just seemed a little bit more fight when I was watching. At one point, Cody hit a crossroads off the top rope, and Darby just kept rolling all the way to the edge of the ring and was able to get a rope break. It was insane. It was so good. They're both so just incredible. At one point, Darby reversed a disaster kick into the Last Supper as pinning combination. Cody was able to kick out. He hit the flip over stunner for 2, then a coffin drop for 2. It's a little bit more back and forth after that. Then there was a sort of roll up battle. Darby was able to shift his weight and rolled Cody up for 3, and Darby is now the TNT champion. Which, yeah, Cody has now transitioned the belt back on, or to Darby, after Brody was kind of a little bit of a mini transitional champ, and then Cody had his 2 matches with Orange Cassidy, and now he's back. The belt is back on, or is now on, Darby Allin. It was a fantastic match. It was brilliant. After the match, then Taz came out and Team Taz jumped Darby and Cody. Ricky Starks hit this brutal looking spear on Cody, and they grabbed Darby and walked on the concrete towards the car. Cody ran in and made the save. Then they went through the full gear bat signally thing. I think Cody went through that. And just before Team Taz were going to break Darby's arm in the door of the car, Will Hobbs made the save, running in with a steel chair as he loves to do. And I hope we get some Darby Allin and Will Hobbs against Team Taz with either Mox or Cody in the future. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I love Will Hobbs. And this was a great match, and I'm very excited to see what Darby Allin does with the TNT Championship. We then go backstage, and the Natural Nightmares are being interviewed, and QT talks to Ali, and he says, "You like talking about how you used me for my money and this and that and the next thing. We want revenge." And then Dustin came in and he said, "We're going to have a bunkhouse rules match. The Natural Nightmares and the Butcher and the Blade in a bunkhouse match on Wednesday." I don't know what a bunkhouse match is. Is that? No, it's King of the Road is the one that got him sacked. Thank God, because that was the shits. But apparently it's going to be violent, so I'm excited. After that promo, we did go to the Women's World Championship match between Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida. And I wasn't entirely excited for this match, mainly because I don't really watch Dark. And Nyla's story was pretty much happening mostly on Dark. And it was a bit trickier to sort of, get it and be invested if you didn't watch Dark. And I also kind of think, as someone who only watches Dynamite, it did seem like it was forced because they had no one else for Shida to wrestle. So I didn't go in with a lot of expectations, but it was phenomenal. The two have incredible chemistry as their match at Double or Nothing demonstrated. And early on in the match, Nyla was outside and went under the ring for a table, but Aubrey was like, "You're not bringing a table out, it's just not happening." And Shida, ran over with a big knee, took her out. And as Aubrey was checking on Nyla Rose, Vicky just swung a candlestick to the back of Shida's knee. And then that was the story for the rest of the match. Nyla worked the knee. At one point, she hung her up over the ropes so that her head was facing the ramp instead of facing the ring, went up the top rope. And instead of dropping the knee across her shoulders, she dropped the knee across the back of her knee. At one point, Shida was able to get in enough offense and ran for the Tamashii and hit it, but was unable to capitalise on it. She hit a few suplexes and Falcon Arrows that, looked like they really hurt on that leg. Nyla is obviously the perfect foil for any babyface comeback, especially in that women's division. But yeah, towards the end, Shida was able to mount a comeback, hit a Falcon Arrow, hit a running knee, but only got two. Got up, hit the ropes, another running knee, this time to the back of Nyla's head, and then just grabbed her and just hit, I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 knees. Just I guess, short arm knees, I suppose. And was able to put Nyla away at the end of a fantastically violent match. After the match then, Vicky and Nyla got a screaming match, and Vicky just slapped Nyla right across the face, and Nyla just sort of kind of took it and walked off. But it looks like Nyla's planning something. Don't know how I feel about that, because I like her partnership with Vicky Guerrero, but we'll wait and see. Once again, AEW sort of don't do their women's division any favours. I do think, though, I'm not saying that match was bad, because that match was great. Last night's show, it felt so much longer for me, even though it probably ended at the same time as the rest of them have. But it was, every match felt like a main event. It didn't feel like your typical sort of pay-per-view structure. Everything from the opening with the John Silver, Orange Cassidy match, it felt, I don't know, it felt bigger than the story allowed it to be. And I think so many big matches with big stories paying off all this stuff, it didn't burn me out because I was very excited. Maybe that's just because I had a beer or two. This video's going out a little bit later because I was a little bit hungover all day and just not feeling up for getting up and doing this as soon as I woke up. But this match here came on right after the women's match and was one that everyone's going to be talking about, and rightfully so. And it was the tag team title match between FTR and the Young Bucks. This match has been in the works for years, behind the scenes, and I think it's possibly better than the Young Bucks match with Omega and Hangman earlier this year. But the weird thing is, I don't think this is the best match we'll ever see between them. I think they're going to do maybe 5 or 6 over the space of 3 or 4 years. And I just think they'll somehow find a way to steadily improve. This match was everything it needed to be. This match was everything it had built to be. Obviously, FTR just masters of psychology, masters of cutting the ring in half. The Young Bucks, 2 of the best babyface workers when they want to. Also 2 of the best heel workers when they want to. But either way, their clash of styles just worked so perfectly with one another. There was some really good spots I liked where they did the moves of teams that paved the way for them. So there was a few like Motorcycle Machine Guns and Hardy Boys and just the high flying teams that have some, tributes to them with moves that they did. And on the other side of it, FTR did like a heart attack and they did the move, the Steiner Brothers finisher. So they were really showing off their roots and where they came from. Also, Excalibur pointed out they had Lakers and Celtics, like new Lakers cut, like the Mamba jerseys that the Lakers wore. The Bucks gear was obviously inspired by that. And then the FTR came out in like old like 70s white and green tracksuits and just had green trunks on. It looked like old like 70s, 80s Celtics colours. It's like an old school Celtics inspired thing, and obviously that's the most prolific rivalry in basketball. But also I quite liked how the Bucks felt like new Laker gear and felt like old Celtics gear. But the match was phenomenal. Just every single time you thought it was done, it kept getting better and going up a gear and up a gear and up a gear. Towards the end, FTR had a spike pile driver on Matt, and he was able to escape via rope break. So Cash took his shoe off and like hit a leg drop off the second rope, tagged out to Dax. Dax locked in an inverted figure 4. But as he was up there, Nick came in and hit a 450 to break it up. Matt went in for the cover, but Cash was in to break it up. Cash then just super kicked Nick out of nowhere, sent him flying out the ring, got into the corner, pulled Dax over, tagged himself in, and just super kicked the head off Matt. Went in for the cover, kicked out at 2, and he got up. And as soon as he got up, I knew it was going to happen. Because he said on many podcasts, many interviews, he used to be a flippy guy when he was on the Indies. So Cash Wheeler of FTR went out to the apron and went for a springboard 450. I missed. Matt got out of the way and hit him with a barefoot super kick. And the Young Bucks are the AEW World Tag Team Champions now. And it was a fantastic match. It was everything it needed to be. It was everything we wanted it to be. It was everything we expected it to be. It was everything we were told it would be. And the match was amazing. I think with Matt's injury, they may put it back on FTR sooner than you'd think. Or they may put it onto someone like Private Party. I'm unsure. Maybe even SCU get another go and they can do that. Because obviously Spears is feuding with Scorpio Sky, so maybe they do it like that. I don't know. But I would very much like to see where this goes. And I'm very excited to see where this goes because that match was phenomenal. And we have, like I said, we've been waiting since 2016, I believe. So good that we finally got it. The Ultimate Deletion was next, and it started. Matt Hardy was at the front door of his house in the Hardy compound. He was on the phone, and he was like, "Look, are you nearby? I may need backup." Okay, cool, let's go. And at that point, the first name that came to my mind was Hurricane Helms, just because he was involved in other deletion matches in Impact. I know he's a free agent, and I know his head is also fried. So I thought, maybe Hurricane Helms. We'll see. So the match started, Sammy comes up, rides at the Hardy compound on a golf cart, and Vanguard 1 flies down and scans him. And over at the side, it's got his little attributes that said Spanish God, False God, Member of the Circle that is Internal. Brilliant. And then as Sammy is looking around for Matt, Matt is in a monster truck, and he runs over the cart and crushes it with his monster truck. But Sammy escaped from the cart, and as Matt gets out of the monster truck, they begin brawling. And they brawl all over the Hardy compound. There is suplexes just on the grass, which, no chance. They brawl, they keep brawling, and eventually, after throwing each other into trees and whipping each other with branches, probably, maybe, I don't remember. I was too drunk when it happened, but it wouldn't surprise me. They battle to the ring. They get in the ring in the Hardy compound and fight some more. And then in come Santana and Ortiz. And they drag Matt out the ring and they're beating him. Matt goes under the ring and he grabs a walkie-talkie and he shouts into this walkie-talkie. The commentator's going, he's got a walkie-talkie, who could he be talking to? And then the camera cuts to Private Party on another car on the walkie-talkie, like, we hear you, we're coming. So they pull up in their matching tracksuit. Both wear a pair of like new Jordans. Isaiah Cassidy was in some red 6s, I believe. I don't know why we wanted to wrestle in the mud and then, but Mark Quinn was in like white 11s, like brand new and shiny, and he's wrestling in the mud in the Hardy compound. As Private Party come in to even up the odds, Matt grabs some fireworks from under the ring and chases Sammy away with a Roman candle. Sammy runs away and he slips in mud. And instead of, getting up and trying to run away some more, he just sits there and just gets hit with a Roman candle for a good 10 seconds. And as Matt Hardy walks over, he goes, yes, the competition is in the mud. It's just so fucking stupid. I love it. They brawled over towards the Lake of Reincarnation. And who should appear but Hurricane Helms and Gangrel. Gangrel is on the side of Sammy Guevara as he was his first mentor and he has loyalty to Sammy. And then Matt brawls with Gangrel for a bit. Sammy brawls with the Hurricane for a bit. Throws the Hurricane into the Lake of Reincarnation. And out comes Shane Helms, interviewer extraordinaire, who asks him, Sammy, I've got a question. Do you think you're just do you think this rivalry is cursed with all the injuries, or are you just an unsafe indie boy? And he then gets mad and throws him back into the lake. And then the Hurricane comes out again. Oh, it was great. As this is all going on, Santana and Ortiz are fighting with Proud and Powerful all throughout the Hardy compound. It keeps cutting between just everyone and everything that's going on. Eventually, Sammy and Matt brawl toward the Dome of Deletion, which is the big, or Matt runs into it rather, and Sammy chases him in. It's like a big shed with a wrestling ring in it, obviously. And as Sammy's coming in, Matt shouts on Skarsgård, the dilapidated boat, falls down and nearly kills Sammy, but he gets out of the way. But now he's in the Dome of Deletion. Matt screams, "Lock the Dome of Deletion," and the door falls down. Now no one can get in. And if all around the ring is like, you've got the chair wheels, the Moor of Lawns, the big white grand piano, just all the greatest hits of all the Deletion matches. And they fight in the ring for a little bit. There's like a ladder. There's 2 chairs or 2 tables set up outside the ring. There's a ladder in the ring, and Sammy hits a swanton bomb off the ladder onto Matt in the ring for 2 and picks him up. It looks like he's going for his finish, but Matt escapes out. Twist of fate. And Sammy goes out onto the apron and just gets speared through the 2 tables. Looked fucking nasty. Like Sammy, I don't know if it was for real or I don't know. Could have been like, a blade job with the cut the camera, but like he started bleeding at the back of his head and out of his mouth. It looked fucking horrible. They fight outside for a little bit more. Like Matt just throws a chair at his face, and then concertos him on the concrete, just bang. It was brutal, and then picks up the win. And after he's won, calls in private party. They put him in a bin, in like a wheelie bin, and load it onto the back of Senior Benjamin's truck as Rebbe plays the piano, and all is well at the Hardy compound. This match was fantastic. It was amazing. It was one of the best Deletion matches, I think, just because of how silly they were allowed to be. And I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it, and now we can just put a bow on Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy and never revisit it so no one dies. MJF and Chris Jericho were wrestling next in the match where if MJF wins, he is now a member of the Inner Circle. And this match was just fun shenanigans. It was everything you would expect from the two of them. Both of them just showed tremendous babyface ability for MJF, which I do think one day he will turn babyface, but it won't be for years. It'll be he'll have been heel his whole career, and then his last year he may turn babyface, and everyone will go insane for it. But they showed an incredible amount of just tremendous understanding of pro wrestling, which obviously they're pro wrestlers. Obviously they do, and Jericho is the best of all time. But just the way they were able to work together and referencing everything and still being dicks, but both of them being endearing and chopping and changing who's working heel and who's working face every couple of minutes seemingly I loved it. I really loved it. Jericho had a very clean line salt as well, considering he's 49 or 50. Outrageous, but fair play to him. Towards the end, MJF got... Oh, I forgot to mention actually. The lights went down and MJF was stood, or someone was stood, with her back to the camera, standing like that as lights sort of shone. And the lights came up and it was MJF, and then he turned around and he did the Jericho pose, doing everything that Jericho used to do. And that was great. I don't know, also another incredible Judas sing-along, obviously. But towards the end, Wardlow threw the Dynamite Diamond ring to MJF, who missed the punch. And then Jake Hager threw Floyd the baseball bat in for Jericho, who missed MJF with a bat. And then, as Aubrey was turning round from being distracted by Wardlow, MJF just smiled and did the Eddie and hit the deck. Aubrey took the bat off him, and as Chris was distracted, MJF rolled him up and pinned him for 3. And MJF is now in the inner circle. This was amazing, and I'm so excited to see where this leads. It was a very good match between two very good wrestlers. But maybe from a work rate standpoint, not the best Jericho's had in AEW. But it's not about that. Who cares? These two are they're making a lot of headlines. They're doing it the right way. They're creating a lot of buzz, making a lot of headlines. People are invested in what they're doing, whether they hate it or not. People are invested, and that's just fantastic. I love this match. I thought it was great. Finally, we reach the main event. Just the violent, brutal I Quit match between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. I'm not going to run through this spot by spot. I'm not even going to talk about it too much because I do think you should definitely go and check this out. But I'll run through some of the highlights. Eddie Kingston was dressed like a Catholic Jushin Liger. Eddie Kingston is the man. And let's just get into it. A lot of weapons, obviously. Just a lot of brutal looking spots and bumps. There was thumbtacks involved, and a very brutal Uranage into those thumbtacks. Mox at one point had thumbtacks at the top of his head. Mox had a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Eddie Kingston took the barbed wire off it, wrapped it around his hand, and hit Mox with a back fist. Just incredible. The pair of them were doing everything to make the other say I quit. But eventually, Jon Moxley, towards the end, after a very long and very brutal affair, wrapped his hand with barbed wire, and I thought he was going to garrote him, which, don't know how you do that safely, but okay. But no, he locked in the Bulldog choke with the barbed wire across Kingston's face, and after an uncomfortable amount of time in there, Kingston did say I quit. And Jon Moxley, still your AEW World Heavyweight Champion. After the match, then Kenny Omega came out to square up to him, and Mox invited him into the ring. Obviously, they had that lights out match last year at Full Gear. But Kenny wasn't stepping into the ring. He was like, that's your domain, John. I am not stepping in there with you. I don't want to be murderized. And yeah, the show was amazing. That was the whole show, obviously. That's the main event. I understand I've sort of rambled in places in this video and not spoke a lot about other matches, but this match, or this show, this card, this everything, Cody said in an interview before this could be the show that defines AEW. Maybe because he's now once again called Cody Rhodes because WWE's given up the lawsuit on it, or the trademark battle. Maybe because of that. But also, this is the best show they've ever done, with possibly the best match they've ever done. And I understand it's a tiring show to watch because every match in its own way feels like a main event, like it could go realistically main event most shows. Every match, no match had that, let's just let the fans settle for a little bit feel like other matches do have. And you need them on pay-per-views, but I just think they thought, well, fuck it, let's just go 100 miles an hour for a whole show and see what happens. And it paid off. I think this is the best show AEW's ever run. This is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, full stop. And I implore you to go out your way to watch it. Say maybe watching it in 2 or 3 match increments is probably a good idea to save your energy. But if you've not seen it already, please watch it. And that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know in the comments any talking points you would like to mention that you thought I was wrong on. Any talking points for future videos you would like me to make a video about, let me know. I'll hopefully get back to making more videos and doing my 2 or 3 a week. I just took a week off because I was having some technical issues and just some stuff was happening. So hopefully we're back now. And yeah, if you enjoyed Full Gear as much as I did, let's just see where it goes from here. Subscribe if you're new, tell all your friends, and I'll see you next time.